Welcome back to the Big Lad Podcast. Yes, you may be thinking the title is a little bit dramatic, but I do feel like it is something a lot of people my age are sort of feeling. 28 hit me hard. I was 28 back in March earlier this year. I'm not a kid anymore. I'm an adult with bills, responsibilities, but at the same time, obviously, I've got so much more life ahead of me. So it's not something like I'm necessarily stressed about. It is a change that I have noticed, and I've seen a lot of posts on social media of people around this age sort of being stuck in what they're doing, not really knowing which direction to go. We're getting to that sort of serious age where people start getting married, kids, the lot. So I'm now at that age where I've got to start budgeting for things like baby and engagement gifts. Like, my mate is the first of our friendship group that had a baby literally like 2 weeks ago, and it's a little bit baffling. It's blown my mind. It definitely wasn't on my bingo card for that to happen to him either this year. But went to see the baby the other day, and it is, it's just crazy that we're at that sort of age now. But yeah, I think I've been feeling it definitely this year. Sort of anything to worry about. I think it's just getting to that age now where it is like, got bills to pay, there's responsibilities that I've got, and you're a little bit more tied down. Like, obviously, I've got the house to pay for and things like that. And there's a little bit less flexibility with being able to change up what you're doing, because obviously you can't take as many risks when you've got more responsibilities. And then if you start piling on things like weddings to pay for and babies to pay for, then it gets even less flexible again. So yeah, like a mate said to me the other day, he thinks that I've got it all sorted out, and it may come across that way on social media and to friends, but I wouldn't say I do. I went down the middle aisle in Aldi the other day, and I got roped in by some flat peaches. Literally peaches that are just essentially squashed down and they are flat. Yeah, I'm still like a big kid in an adult's body, essentially. And I do think it's okay not to have it all figured out. And I don't really think everyone does. Because if you were to have it all figured out, then where is the room for growth? I would compare it to maybe like a computer game. Say if you've gone and got a second-hand computer game, someone's already completed all the levels and you just get given it, then it kind of gets boring pretty quickly. So imagine if you had it all sorted out at like a really young age and there was just nothing else to sort of grow yourself into and sort of expand, whether that be knowledge-wise, work-wise, skills. It'd get pretty boring pretty quickly. And the more I think about it, the more I think we're all just winging it. And I've noticed this in like the corporate world, because as a day job, I am like a project accountant, commercial project manager. And the more that I notice it, literally everyone is kind of just winging it, and we don't really have a clue what we're doing. We're all just cracking on. And people have just got different job titles or higher job titles depending on sort of experience, how old they are, and things like that. But I never truly think everyone has it sort of nailed down. There's a lot of people that you probably look up to going, oh, they've got it all sorted out. And probably behind the scenes, there's a lot of chaos. It's just sort of knowing how to deal with it. But yeah, I do think it's fine to have it all not figured out. And I'm seeing a lot of it on social media these days of people having like what they're calling quarter life crises. People are jumping into new things. Sort of a lot of people are taking up running as they get towards like the 30s. A lot of people are moving to run clubs, doing high rocks, triathlons, which is absolutely great. It's obviously going to benefit them, not from just like a physical point of view, but you're moving into different social groups, so you're going to potentially meet others along the way with similar interests, similar age, and just things like that. But yeah, it's not been like necessarily a shock this year. I've sort of felt it coming anyway as I've been getting older. Like, times are getting a bit more serious, so to speak. But at the same time, I think it's more sort of a feeling than it actually is serious, if you know what I mean. It's not as serious as we sort of make it out to be, getting a bit older and having more responsibilities. I think there is still room for flexibility and doing something different that you want to do, especially when it comes down to work, because the majority of people that will be listening are your Monday to Friday 9 to 5 workers, and that is a hell of a lot of time throughout the week. You're talking 40 hours, maybe more, depending on what you are doing. And that is a lot of time each week, especially if it's a job that you are not happy in, or you're just doing something that doesn't really interest you. And I've sort of been feeling that way about work for a while. It doesn't really fulfill me that much. And I feel like I constantly need like a bit of an escape. And that is obviously where things like my online coaching and the podcast and my clothing brand come in. That gives me that sort of escape from the corporate world. I feel like I essentially live two lives. I'm kind of a bit like Hannah Montana, but like a corporate social media mix. But yeah, it's one of them. I don't really see myself doing a 9 to 5 for the rest of my life. Had sort of aspirations as a kid of sort of wanting my own business, but never really knowing what in. Like I've sat down multiple times. I've got like two whiteboards, a really big one and a slightly smaller one, where I try and sort of jot ideas down of what I could do and how I could do it and earn money from it. And I've never really come to something where I've been, right, that is my thing. I really enjoy doing the online personal training. I do. But I think if I was to do that full time, I think I would potentially get pretty bored of that too. I enjoy doing it on the side. I really enjoy helping others achieve their goals and become essentially better versions of themselves. But if I was to have to do that full time as a job, I'm not sure whether that would be a long term thing. Like, don't get me wrong, it would fulfill me massively by helping people. But as a long term option, I don't think it would be the one. So I'm not too sure. I really do enjoy doing the podcast, but it makes me absolutely no money at the moment. I am aiming to sort of stay consistent with it, and the only real way that you can make money from podcasts is through advertising slots and basically YouTube revenue. But I'm way away from the YouTube revenue. So yeah, if you are new and watching on YouTube, please drop it a subscribe, because it will really help me get towards that goal in the future. But the thing is as well is, like, I have this sort of want to sort of escape the 9 to 5, and if anyone from work has somehow happened to come across this, then yeah, it is what it is. But I'm sure I'm not the only one at work that feels a similar feeling. So yeah, I want this sort of escape from the 9 to 5 at some point, and I don't know how it's going to come or when, to be quite honest. But it's that sort of feel of being alone in the pursuit of success. A lot of my mates, well, to be honest, not really had the discussion with a lot of them, but I'm pretty sure they're reasonably happy doing the sort of Monday to Friday 9 to 5. It's just sort of the way life is. I think you've got to be a certain type of individual to sort of go against the grain a little bit. But yeah, feeling lonely in the pursuit of success is something that I've definitely been feeling. I don't feel like I've got someone that I can really speak to about this sort of stuff, or even try and find guidance in a way. And Chris Williamson said a sort of insightful quote on a podcast. I can't remember exactly which one it is, but it sort of really stuck with me and resonated. And he said, there is a period in everybody's journey where they are so different because they've started to do new things that they no longer fit in with their old set of friends, but they're not sufficiently developed that they've gained their new set of friends. Now, I'm not saying that I'm just going to run away from my mates that I've known since I was a kid. That's not what I'm saying I'm going to do. But I am feeling that sort of outsider feel where they don't have those sort of similar wants that I do of sort of escaping and doing my own thing. There was one mate that I discussed a lot of stuff with probably about 6 years ago now. We used to go swimming on a weekend, and then we'd go to Starbucks and essentially just discuss business ideas, and we came up with what we thought was a really good one. The only thing is it had already been done. So that kind of put an end to that, essentially. And yeah, there's not really been a similar discussion since. And then that brings me on to like another thing where I've mentioned in a previous podcast that I never really feel satisfied with the things that I achieve, because I feel like it's always on to the next thing. And I need to get better at just enjoying things in the present moment instead of moving quickly on to the next goal. I'm probably quite bad for that, and I don't know whether it is just like an upbringing thing about, I don't know, just celebrating things more than I probably have done in the past, and just taking a step back and seeing and realising what I've actually achieved. I'm probably quite harsh on myself in that point where I just expect things of myself to happen. So when something that maybe others would think is a good achievement, I just see it as another thing and then move on to whatever the next thing is and chase the next goal. Going back to the work stuff, there's a sort of issue where I'm at the point where I'm pretty efficient at my job to essentially get it done in what I need to get done in, like probably 2 to 3 days worth of work in a week. And I mean, there is other stuff that I could probably do at work, but it's then getting the reward in terms of maybe recognition or promotions or pay to do that extra work, and the drive just isn't really there. And I don't know whether that is because of like previous jobs that I've had where I've put all this work in and then not got anything off the back of it. I don't know whether that's the sort of barrier that's stopping me from putting more work into this. But then also, if I work towards the next promotion, there's a decent pay rise, but for me, I would then be going flat out like 5 days a week, potentially doing overtime, where I don't see the value of the pay rise being worth that extra work. I've got like a sort of issue where I've got to balance all that out and really have a sit down and think whether the actual next step up is going to be worth it for me, or whether I need to go and potentially do something else, or go in a different direction. The actual issue that I've got at the moment is not knowing which direction I actually want to go in and what I want to do. I also feel like I've mentioned in a previous podcast, that I'm probably spreading myself a little thin. So I've obviously got my 9 to 5. I've got my online clients that I look after, which I try and keep to like small numbers. I often don't really post anything about it because I don't want loads of clients, because I don't really have the time to take on that many just because of how much I've got outside of work. I want to provide a good service to a small amount of people, and that is what I've got nailed down. I've probably got scope to take on a couple of extra people, but at the moment I'm not really pushing it. Like if someone comes to me and wants my help, then I've got the space to do it and I will obviously help. I've got the podcast. I'm trying to be as consistent as possible with this now, and things like editing for me take quite a long time. So what I have to do is I download this video and then upload it into Final Cut Pro. I then have to get clips for both YouTube and then Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. So I essentially have to watch the podcast back twice to get different lengths of clips for each sort of social media platform. And my aim at the moment is for 5 YouTube clips and then 10 sort of Reels, TikToks, Shorts, and then get them posted throughout the week. So basically, Monday to Friday, there will be a clip of the latest episode on YouTube, and then there will be 2 Reels per day for the exact same thing on different social media platforms. And for me, I can get pretty distracted doing editing because I don't necessarily enjoy it. So when I don't find something that I enjoy doing, I kind of procrastinate a little bit. I am getting a lot better at doing it and trying to get it done quicker, just so I can upload them all into different things and get as many things scheduled as possible. So that is taking quite a bit of time. I don't mind doing it though, because I obviously enjoy doing the podcast and I do want it to grow. So the effort that I'm putting in, I need to be getting results back out. And the only way of doing that is consistency through amount of content going out there. I then have the clothing brand, which I've been quite quiet on because I've been waiting on my supplier to bring a new sort of product and way of selling the clothes, which actually has gone live today. So that will be up very, very soon. Stay tuned for that. It will be coming up. And then basically I play football and obviously go to the gym, and I would like to have a social life as well. So my time is reasonably limited. I do tend to get a lot of things done. I've actually been asked quite a few times on sort of Instagram question boxes over the years saying like, how do I manage to get everything done? And I've actually took my foot off the gas with this a little bit, but previously it is a lot of to-do lists, either on paper or in my notes app on my phone, and also blocking out time in my calendar and just sticking to those timelines as well as possible. Obviously, there's things that come up in between, but if you can plan your week out in advance so you know what you're doing and when, it will keep you a lot more consistent in the long run. And that has worked for me over the years, trying to get everything done, but then still having a balanced social life, being able to play football, go in the gym, and getting everything done. I feel like a lot of people waste time watching shite on Netflix and keeping up with the latest series. It's really not worth it, but that's just me, and I don't see value in watching things on Netflix. I'd rather be doing something productive. That is sort of where I'm at. I guess that was a bit of a therapy session for myself. I hope you all enjoyed listening. If you've got any tips or thoughts, then let me know in the comments on whatever you are listening to, or feel free to just reach out and drop me a DM on Instagram, either at GW_fit or the Big Lad Podcast. And if you're not following me on either of them, then drop a follow, keep up to date with everything that's going on. But I think I'm going to leave that there. It was reasonably quick still, like 17, 18 minutes. But yeah, I feel like there's a lot of people my age that are feeling this way at the moment, getting sort of stuck where they're at and not really knowing what to do or where to go. I have thought, actually, and another thing, I've thought about creating like a men's group, or even just a sort of group in general for anyone that is sort of like-minded to have chats and meetups and stuff like that. I've always thought, like, I've tried to look in the past if there's like any sort of men's sort of business sort of groups in the local area. I've never really found anything that's like found my interest. There's a thing called Young Professionals in Manchester, and I've had a few sort of invites to stuff through emails, but I've never actually been to any of the events because I've not been able to. But I would potentially look at doing something like that in the future if there was enough interest. Just getting a load of sort of like-minded individuals together, go and do something together, and just have a chat and meet new people. You never know, there could be new businesses. You never know, there could be new businesses and all sorts that come off the back of it. Even if it's just a case of meeting new people and making new friends, then it's going to be a positive at the end of the day. So if that is something that you would like me to sort of look at organising, then give me a shout if you're interested, or just if you've got any ideas, I'm more than happy to sort of have a chat. But yeah, I do hope you have enjoyed this episode. Next episode up is episode 50. So that's going to be a big one. I've done a Q&A. There's been some sort of question boxes on my Instagram story, so I've had a lot of questions come in. I will be putting another one up after this podcast's gone up, there's going to be a couple more. So if there's any questions that you want to ask me, it doesn't have to be fitness related or anything. It can be literally anything that you want me to answer. It can be stupid if you want. Go for it. So stay tuned for that one. Thank you very much if you've got this far in the podcast listening to me ramble on. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you are new and watching on YouTube, make sure you drop a like and subscribe. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, make sure you are following along the podcast and set those automatic downloads so you don't miss another episode. But thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next episode.